business. My name is Devin Williams, VP of Strategy for CNSG, and I'll be your host today. The webinar is being recorded and will be available for playback, so I've muted everyone's lines for recording quality. So let's get started. Let's dive in. With the Converged Effect initiative, we like to begin our enablement at a high level. This type of knowledge is how you earn your seat at the table, right? First, we begin by defining the different major segments in the industry before moving on to the larger macro trends at play affecting the industry. Then we'll examine from a technology standpoint how the industry is looking to take advantage of the current economic climate and explore the technical challenges preventing companies from doing so. Hint, hint, that's where we come into play by breaking down those technical barriers, keeping them from growing and protecting their business. Finally, we'll discuss some specific solutions that we've come up with and strategies that you can use to monetize what we've covered today before going into a Q&A with myself and Dave Hopper, our Senior Director of Solutions Engineering at CNSG. So it's important for us to define the most common subset of businesses under the quote-unquote real estate umbrella before we really dive into what's happening at the macro level. So first, you have the most common residential, the largest subset with almost 2 million registered residential real estate agents in the USA today. At the broker and small business level, we're still in residential. Quick wins for cost savings with things like cloud, connectivity, and UCaaS are going to be huge, right? These are small organizations not commanding huge amounts of IT spend. There's a lot of turnover in this space, so solutions that can help with business continuity are also a really great opportunity here. In many cases, these smaller agencies receive services, including IT from their franchised umbrella corporation. So start the conversation by understanding what services they currently receive today as part of membership. There are always numerous services we can provide through our extensive portfolio that go above and beyond what the franchise provides the franchisee. So within that residential subset, there are larger franchise corporations like the Keller Williams corporates of the world. Those and those other global firms in this space are really the ones you should look to for enterprise scale deals and needs like SOC as a service or NOC as a service, really high-end, all-encompassing managed services. So let's move to industrial, a smaller subset. These firms typically see more consistency in their business with longer tenure, larger deal size, longer sales cycles. These firms can appear small, but in many cases do lots of revenue, despite maybe only having a handful of people on staff. It's important to note that in the industrial subset here, these firms have a vastly different target customer profile than residential. So what do I mean by that? In this sector of real estate, some of the top performers in industrial will only do a handful of deals and for an entire year, right? They've reached that elite status where they're managing strategic type accounts. Versus sometimes a top performer needs to do hundreds of deals to be a top performer in the residential space. So focusing on two really different customer and buyer personas. Then we look at commercial, which has a blend of residential and industrial characteristics in their sector. So these firms are similar in the fact that they experience a lot of burnout rate and turnover, like we see in the residential sector. So they're known very much for recruiting young professionals out of college for commission-only positions, burning them out, and for the ones who make it, moving those folks up in the organization. It's also important to note that what we've seen a lot as we're looking at the data and the research is that a lot of firms that label themselves as commercial actually perform both industrial and commercial services. But these are such vastly different businesses to operate that you essentially have two different practices rolling up under one firm's name. So there might be two different types of plays for you to approach within one commercial real estate group. Just something to think about. And finally, property management, which is a little bit interesting. We'll spend some more time with them at the end of the call, but In most cases, these are a separate organization who's contracted by the property ownership. These companies have their own technical needs, but also represent a great opportunity to partner with, which that's the piece we'll discuss in more detail later on. From a technical needs standpoint, mobility, multi-tenant solutions, collaboration, Internet of Things, these are all important to property management businesses in 2018. So in each Converged Effect webinar, as I mentioned, we like to begin our discussion uncovering some of the macro trends that are putting pressure on the industry as a whole before working backwards into the opportunity these trends represent. Understanding these trends are what get you a seat at the table as a consultant. So what is going on in the real estate industry in 2018? Well, 2017 was a great year, and due to certain variables, the entire industry is even more optimistic about 2018. Firms will spend aggressively for two reasons in this type of climate. One, they want to grow their market share by acting on current trends, which we'll talk about. And secondly, by spending their 2017 record profits, remember, really great year for most folks in the industry, they're spending those record profits on technologies to help them reduce costs and insulate against potential future economic instability, i.e., the smart ones know this home buying market won't always be so bullish, and they're going to leverage improved revenues to help protect their business against potential changes in the industry and economics. So secondly, blame the millennials. We all love to do that sometimes. Millennials could make up to 43% of home buyers taking out a mortgage by the end of 2018. That's up from an estimated 40% in 2017 based on mortgage originations. That 3% uptick from 2017 to 2018 in millennial home buyers alone could translate into hundreds of thousands of additional home purchases out of the millennial generation alone this year. But we know that millennials come with a different set of customer experience and buying expectations. So again, the smart firms are going to key in on this, and they're going to spend money to try and capture the hearts and minds of millennials in 2018. Because if you can capture their hearts and minds now, you can likely ride that business for many, many home sales repeated within that same group. Supply might actually catch up with demand in 2018, which will bring more first-time home buyers out, again, many of which are going to be millennials. And then here's a golden nugget. You're welcome in advance. This is really important to key in on. Referrals continue to be the number one source of business in the industry. This is unquestioned amongst anyone you talk to. 89% of home buyers said they would recommend their agent. Okay? Referrals are number one source of business. Most home buyers said they would recommend their agent. And yet, 30% of firms don't have a CRM in place. And we know from sales statistics that only 25% of salespeople across all industries even ask for a referral. So clearly, some firms are missing the opportunity to capture more revenue through a well-thought-out referral capture program. Introduce this concept of a referral capture program to position yourself as a strategic, business-minded consultant. And the data says that at least 30% of the firms you meet with on this topic will have a need here. The CRM is step one. But what if that CRM was integrated with a website referral program and a collaboration suite, so you never let a lead slip while also breaking into new channels? If you introduce that concept to a business owner who hasn't already thought of it or is implementing it, I'm telling you, that is a mic drop worthy moment, and you are now a hero to that business. So put that one in your back pocket for sure. Moving on, more trends that will bring potential buyers out besides supply. Rate hikes with the Fed could make your house even more expensive if you don't act now. So there's very much a act now or lose out mentality in the market. And finally, every single stat showed that customer experience had by far the strongest link to a firm's revenue. Communication was the #1 factor in real estate customer sat. The second largest variable in customer sat in real estate was as simple as having a searchable catalog of homes on your website. No wonder agency owners have listed iPads for in-field use and high-end digital cameras as the top 2 items they plan to spend money on in Q1 of 2018. They realize that, and they want to capture the customer satisfaction trend. So new channels, acting quickly on interest, and meeting customer expectations are keys to success in 2018 for real estate. These are all things we can help with. So what is your goal now that we've talked about this? Your goal is to make sure that they as business owners understand that these types of market trends don't occur frequently or last long. The time for them to act is now. By making smart, strategic technology spend, their business can achieve new levels of revenue and also insulate their future business from risk. So I apologize, I'm not able to build the slide out here. It looked a little bit prettier than that, but we had to work with the format that we have. But here's where we start looking at those macro trends were impacting the real estate industry. But what does that translate to from a technology standpoint? So let's talk about the customer experience piece in a little bit more detail. And what do we know from the last slide? We heard that referrals are the #1 source of revenue across the industry. We know that customer sat is directly correlated to the willingness to refer, working backwards. And we also know that customer sat in real estate comes down to customer expectations around communication and available services in the buying process. So what does this tell us? Technology is both a catalyst as well as a connective tissue in this whole cycle. As more of those customers' expectations, i.e. like millennials that are driving some of this change, as those customer expectations become more reliant on technology like web apps, home catalog with pictures, proactive communication, etc., businesses will continue to spend money to advance themselves in these areas. Okay, so what else is happening in real estate that is technology driven? The entire industry is mobile. We know a lot of time is wasted in real estate, which we'll talk a little bit more about, with inefficiencies related to remote workers. So how do we improve internal and external communication and efficiency without limiting mobility? What else is going on? Spending money to make money. With the CRM, could I better understand the activity and ROI of my different programs and workers? Is it time for me to add a catalog to my website or maybe execute, there's that word, a referral program? With so many home buyers doing the majority of their home research online before ever talking to a firm, when a customer does show online interest, I, as a firm, need to capture that interest immediately by whatever means possible. Everything for paying for ads on Zillow, to having a website that captures visitor information, to automated marketing campaigns, etc. These are all tools I need to use to beat my competition and capture and retain customers. If I've been in the real estate business for a while, I likely had a good year last year. I also likely have legacy technology out there that I'm thinking about consolidating. So perhaps it's time for me to consolidate now before market conditions change. Connectivity, office solutions, CRMs, on-prem versus cloud, everything, etc., should all be considered for consolidation. And finally, in many cases, especially with smaller firms, security is not top of mind. These firms, especially the smaller ones that are in the franchise model, like under a Keller Williams or an Allen Tate, they typically, whether they like it or not, they have no choice. They pay for insurance plans that help them fight the financial costs of a breach. Unfortunately, no monetary parachute can protect against brand damage done by a security breach. Educate them that the things you are proposing can also help quell some of their concerns and needs around security, such as moving workloads to secure and compliant cloud solutions. Just educate and make sure they know you are thinking about their security, even if they aren't. and that there are ways that you can execute on some of these opportunities we've discussed while also reducing security exposure. They can have it both ways, and you're the way that they can enable that. So cybersecurity. We need to lead a horse to water when it comes to cybersecurity, especially in this industry in most cases. But as I just covered, this might not be a big concern for small agencies and businesses, despite the data that we have represented here. Smaller companies, again, have insurance that they pay for, which covers them in these cases of some cyber threat exposure, but not all. And this protection gives them hubris. It makes them feel less compelled to move on cybersecurity and gives them a false sense of protection. So in many cases, especially these smaller firms, they don't see the justification, especially if they have this insurance program behind them, justifying the high cost for these many all-encompassing security solutions that we talked about previously. Larger institutions, however, know the need and know the risk. So push the larger businesses over the edge toward a managed offering or solution while focusing on things like one-time assessments and lightweight targeted security solutions for smaller businesses in real estate. That's where the quick wins are going to come. As an example, a quick win can be an anti-phishing solution. If you look in the bottom right corner here, we see that business email compromise, or BEC, is a huge and most prevalent security threat in real estate today. And it makes sense because although real estate agents don't have to comply with as many compliance laws, they still have very valuable black market data, client-sensitive information. So the bottom line is, don't get upset if you don't get an immediate sale or bite around security in real estate. It's really important to speak to it regardless. It shows that you understand the entire business and you're an encompassing consultant, which is, again, how we differentiate. So what else is going on? It's a dominantly mobile workforce, as we've talked about, especially the sellers and the agents. What are some variables which make mobile difficult or costly in real estate? High turnover, which we've talked about pretty much across the industry minus industrial. So what does that mean for mobility? Well, what happens when an agent leaves? What about all the contacts and the information on the mobile device? Well, especially if I don't own the device, they brought their own. How can I ensure that if someone tries to reach that agent after they've left, that I can still capture the lead? What about the pictures, emails, documents that that person has uploaded to or from that device? What do I do about all of that? What am I losing by not capturing, controlling, and securing that? Despite the mobile nature of the industry, not many companies have mobile solutions deployed. So you have an opportunity to sell against, frankly, yourself and not doing anything. There's a tremendous need, especially as you start to get up market, to control and monitor those devices. And then finally, the files they have are large and sensitive in nature. That's why hackers want to get access to them. They're also a beast to comb through. I know a lot of us here work mobile. We look through contracts on a daily basis. Think about how painful that can be if maybe the doc viewer or the version of the document that you were sent doesn't work well with what you're using to view. Think about how painstaking it can be to comb through a contract or details when it's not properly set up. So proper communication, mobile integrations, file viewing technology, without those in place, it's no surprise that despite the field-bound nature, how much time is lost and not spent in selling activities, despite the amount of time spent in the field. So how is technology affecting the buyer and therefore the real estate firm? Everything is moving towards the web and self-service, right? Remember the consultative talk track, and that buyers are doing more research than ever before they ever even talk to a vendor. The same is happening here with individual buyers and corporate buyers in real estate, except it's an even higher percentage. 90% of buyers use the internet to do research before ever engaging a broker. So when a potential buyer does interact with your brand, they are there for a reason, and that interest needs to be captured in some way immediately, as we've talked about. We see that for pretty much everyone, having photos, again, of inventory available online for the broker website is cited as a huge draw. But simply having an inventory catalog with photos on your website won't differentiate you for long. There's a lot of people who are doing this on their own or hiring outside firms or franchises that are offering very expensive managed service tack-ons where they will allow you to host MLS photos online. So either help them catch up to the pack or distance themselves from the pack altogether in this space. The biggest reason for the fast move towards web, mobile, and social, again, it's the millennials, who have become the largest segment of potential buyers. Their reliance and familiarity with modern technologies and channels will force the real estate industry to catch up or be left behind. And based on customer SAT scores, up in the right, on the bottom right here, based on customer SAT scores, channels and services for millennials still have a long way to go. Meaning, for the right business, capturing millennials via experience and technology is their way to differentiate and capture newfound revenues going forward. All right, so what if we start pulling this all together? The message overall is to guide your customer in how they can drive revenue, develop new channels, reduce costs, improve security, and improve efficiency. Cloud of all flavors, CRM, collaboration, app development, and integrations are all examples of how we can help here. So some of the things that in this climate that customers are thinking about leveraging technology, which in most 99.9% of cases, they're not experts in technology. They're thinking about maybe leveraging augmented reality or virtual reality as part of a new marketing campaign and website overhaul. I'm thinking about that, but I have no idea how to go about it. Is this strategy in alignment with my other plans and roadmaps? Can I support this tech today from a cost or a technology standpoint? What about the storage? Will it break tomorrow? Do I have a strategy to capture and track the leads this initiative might create? Am I going to go through all this trouble and then not have a proper lead capture program? All things that they're thinking about and they don't have answers for. Also, where can I consolidate? We talked about that, especially for folks that have been in business for a while, who likely had a very good year last year, and it's time for them to consolidate and re-up on technology. Where can I consolidate and where can I migrate? If cloud is cheaper, look in the top right, significantly, when all things are considered, where should I start? What's my low-hanging fruit? I don't know all the cloud tech available to me. I don't know what integrates, etc. Help me do an audit of my connectivity, my infrastructure, my telephony, and my applications to see where I could benefit from shifting to cloud. And then finally, how can I improve or implement a CRM strategy, improve internal collaboration, or implement a referral capture program? There's a lot of opportunity here around lead documentation, lead sourcing, lead strategy, flowing into marketing with CRMs and integrations out the wazoo available to our customers here. Okay, so as we do each time, we want to shift from enabling on what's happening in the macro world of this industry, how is that affecting technology, the data behind that, to, all right, how do we go actually position ourselves, specifically technology that we can position to win business that will help our customers across all this stuff you just talked about, Devin. So there's some specific technologies to be thinking about. Let's help you tie it all together. First, the digital business service. So going digital, right? Helping them go digital. Remember that there's a clear opportunity to differentiate and grow their business by executing on younger generation's expectations for what a home buying experience should look like. Not just having photos up on your website. What about a VR walkthrough or an AR app that's unique to your firm? Maybe a client portal to access important documents, or a quote-unquote new home purchase tracker like the Domino's Pizza Tracker, where they can view the status of their home buying process and get help. These are real things that people are deploying. What about social media integrations? We have numerous providers such as ProRiver and Equal Dream, just to name a few, who can build these types of solutions, app development, web design services for your customer. If they're already succeeding as a digital business, congrats. They are way ahead if that's the case. However, they should also consider the back end. Are these solutions hosted and integrated in a way that maximizes your digital investment? Is the CRM, email, collaboration, website, are they all secure, and are they all talking to one another? We have providers like Rackspace and Navisite who can host and manage these solutions, especially if you're hearing about homegrown solutions. There's a lot of opportunity there to take security and performance needs and concerns away from the customer and offload those to a vendor like a Rackspace or a Navisite. Audits, we know this play all too well as a group. Let's bring in an aggregator like a BCN based on the geo of the business to look at connectivity, consolidation, and savings. Meanwhile, have the CNSG team or perhaps one of the vendors team up to help you look at both their telephony as well as their app stack and infrastructure to determine if strategic cloud migrations could save money and improve performance. Based on our findings, we have numerous options to present. Green Cloud, RapidScale, Spectrum Enterprise, Rackspace, all a few. And then security. Again, in most cases, SOC as a service is going to be overboard or too costly for some of these smaller businesses. But still have the security discussion. Understand where they are protected today and where they are not. A vulnerability assessment, a one-time vulnerability assessment, might be a worthwhile investment that could lead to other findings in business. So here you notice my dollar sign down here. I think we've got an opportunity for a quick win. And I alluded to this early. That's a phishing campaign. Remember that business email compromise tactics and phishing scams are a top focus for hackers on real estate. They want to get access to the corporate network and get into the files that those businesses are storing. TruShield has an anti-phishing specific solution that is low cost and has a quick ROI. It's called PhiShield or PhishShield. And it runs for about $350 a month. You can cover most small and medium businesses from all phishing attacks. $350 a month, I believe it's up to around 150 users are covered for that cost. So by and large, most small and medium businesses are going to be covered, and they are effectively offloading their risk and concern around phishing, scams, and those attacks. That is a small win that can get you into an account and turn over a quick win very quickly. So if you want to run a phishing campaign, contact me after this. I'll be more than happy to work with you on setting that up, partnering with the TruShield group, and running a strategic campaign around phishing challenges. All right, sorry, I had a delay on my end there. A few more opportunities, and then we'll wrap up. We've got mobile workforce, as we've talked about. Remember, most of the industry is mobile, largely made up of small business owners who are allowing BYOD, bring your own device at their company. So there's a lot of different ways we can help, whether it's securing and controlling those devices with a SoftwareOne or a Metel, or creating integrations for efficiency and business continuity between Collab, CRM, and mobile workforce with things like RingCentral Glip or Mitel, Mitel Anywhere, or maybe a VDI solution to help them bring on new employees in a high turnover business. Stacked together, these are very powerful, allowing me to enable bring your own device laptops and mobile devices, deliver tablets to contract workers, introduce flexibility into my business, while also creating efficiency, security, and cost savings. So I would encourage you to look at these not only as one-time plays, but also full stack opportunities where you're bringing together mobile device control, integration and collaboration, and VDI. And some of these vendors that we have listed here, such as Mitel, Evolve IP, can cross all of these different areas. Finally, as I like to call it, the sharing is caring suite of solutions. Remember, in real estate, they have big files which are sensitive as a part of doing business. They are also mobile, during much of their activity. But regardless of where they are, acting on and capturing leads is critical, especially referrals. We can help them save money via bandwidth consolidation along with an SD-WAN provider, which we've got some great ones in the portfolio like Cato that comes along with some very sophisticated security functionality, CloudGenix, which is very application vision focused, and Big Leaf Networks, the only one of its kind to drop in outside of the firewalls for a quick install. So the SD-WAN provider allows for the cost savings by going with lower cost bandwidth, but it also may introduce security and allows for prioritization of those services that you deem most critical. So add some intelligence to that network. Now plug in a collaboration suite on top of the new network, like a rapid scale or a call tower, for efficiencies and to improve lead and referral capture. And finally, we can do all of this in a safe, secure, managed cloud environment with a Navisite or a rack space. So use a la carte with many providers to address unique customer needs, or go with one provider like TPX, who many of you may not know, can actually deliver the entire stack here on the right and then some that I just mentioned. So we do have the opportunity to do a la carte, or we have several different providers that can provide that one fits all, one vendor, one single throat to choke. All right, so partnering with property management. We talked a little bit about them from a technology standpoint, but there's also an opportunity here to bring in more revenue through your business for both sides as a partner. They represent everything that we've discussed here today, but we should also approach them with this new revenue stream opportunity that maybe they're not even thinking about. So a little bit more detail on these folks. They provide managed services to their tenants that range in cost and complexity depending on the type. In most cases, you're going to see these in tenant housing, commercial, industrial. You're not going to see these in residential as much. So make sure to ask them and have a good discussion on how they're supporting their clients, what types of services they're delivering, and if there's a desire to introduce new revenue streams by adding new services. Maybe there is, or maybe, you know what, they're fine. If there's a desire there, there's an icing on the cake. We can help them close these deals for the new services that we would represent. So with little effort, these companies can start monetizing deals that they previously had to turn away. So an example, new building or new tenant needs connectivity. Send them my way and we'll cut you a check. Do you provide phone, desktop, network, or security services to your clients today? No. Would you like to? With our help, set up a free assessment with each new business or tenant that comes on as part of their contract. We'll come in and we'll help facilitate a solution set across that entire stack of connectivity, telephony, desktop, network, etc. Are they working with MSPs? Right? A lot of these corporate property management organizations are housing MSPs and call centers and inside sales organizations, etc. Would they like to maybe start introducing NOC services for their clients? We can help them stand up a call center or outsource NOC services altogether. All the revenue generation ideas you can bring to the table differentiate you as a consultant. So this is an opportunity to approach these folks as both a customer and a partner opportunity, further differentiate yourself. So before we get into the Q&A, I want to remind everyone that as part of your partnership and attendance after each of these webinars, we package up together for you a number of really amazing resources, if I could say so. As an example, a white label customer-facing version of this deck that you can brand that also has a script and talk track and discovery questions already included in the notes for you. Real estate industry cheat sheet that is meant to help you run a discovery call or to be used as just a quick reference, a quick brush up before you bump into somebody in the elevator. It includes a recap of what was covered today, key stats, and discovery questions that you can use. We include persona-based email templates for you to use to help you set those first meetings. These can be sent as is to a net new customer, or with some simple customization, they can be repurposed for an upsell campaign back into your existing customers in real estate. If you need some help with that upsell campaign, just ask. We want to see that activity. We want to help. And finally, we've gone and done the work looking at all the different suppliers and finding what we felt was really meaningful collateral that is specific to the real estate industry. So we've gone ahead and packaged that up so you have some specific collateral for real estate that you can drop off, use as leave behinds, et cetera, as you have these meetings. So we built the Converged Effect initiative to help you get into larger deals and expand your conversations. That's the whole point. So before I open it up for questions, I'd like to talk about one example from last month with a partner that shows how setting the stage about the customer, business, and industry changes the entire conversation. So this partner was really liked the email campaign idea and thoughts, and they were going to send a connectivity-focused email back into their customer base to try and reinvigorate some conversations. And connectivity is their bloodline. It's what they know. That makes sense. They engaged CNSG for some advice on the emails, and we told them, use the consultative email templates that we came out with a couple months ago, as opposed to pigeonholing yourself into connectivity. The partner used the consultative talk track emails that we had already created, the templates, made some small changes to brand it themselves, and blasted this out to a number of different organizations. And they booked a meeting with a law firm. What was really, really interesting, so the partner enters basic details. They don't have much. Again, this is set up over an email, not a big deal, into the op qualifier. Dave Hopper and I jump on and get involved. We have a conversation with the customer. And the most powerful thing about this was how the customer opened the call. Because we set the expectation that we are an agnostic, encompassing technology consultant and not a connectivity specialist, the customer opened the call by saying, man, I'm so happy about this. You guys are so right. I'm a lawyer. What do I know about technology? But what I do know is that the big firms and my competitors are better at it than I am, and I need to get better. So if you're telling me that you can help me assess and pick strategic technologies that map to what I'm trying to do as a business, man, you have found a happy camper. That was the opening line to the call. I think we would all love to have relatively cold first meetings open up as warm in that. And that was all because of the way we started the conversation. We asked very general, high-level questions, and we're now about to be our third meeting with the customer where we're introducing a vendor, and we have collaboration, CRM, connectivity, and cloud opportunities because we started at a high level and we showed we understand the industry and we earned the right. So on to the Q&A. Folks, I appreciate you letting me tell that story, although I do have a bit of a captive audience here. Because this is being recorded, we want to keep the background noise to a minimum. So if you would like to submit a question, please do so through the chat window at this time, and Dave or I will be happy to address it. Chat window is in the bottom left corner of your screen. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer here today, please shoot them over. Otherwise, we're always happy to follow up. So we just got a question, great question. Do you have any examples of real estate organizations that have these struggles? Absolutely. So we actually done a couple of interviews. I've got a couple of close friends here in the Triangle. I'm in the Apex RTP area in North Carolina, two of which are some of the top seller and agent broker firms in North Carolina and in the Triangle, which is a very hot space. So we interviewed both of them. We're publishing one of those interviews as a follow-up, and you'll find that all of these trends are consistent, right? I'm not too concerned about security, but once you start making me aware of it, I get a little bit more worried. If you can position a quick win, I might be open to it. Outside of that, my entire focus is on driving referral business and capturing leads and driving efficiency back into the business. So this is very, very consistent. We also, this data comes from a number of different realtors, real estate, Gallup polls, et cetera, that are all specific to this industry. And it was interesting, both of the folks were from Keller Williams that I interviewed. They had both come back from their kickoff where they bring all of the top Keller Williams agents out, and they do a bunch of enablement and presentations about what to expect in 2018. And they were very impressed with some of the stuff that we were talking about millennials being the fastest growing segment and the one commanding the customer experience expectations. They were very impressed, and they really solidified and confirmed a lot of the stuff we've talked about. That's a fantastic question.
And I can add to also specific, because you brought up the spearfishing, Devin, I'll add to it. We have a customer that recently got hit with a spearfishing attack. They have some real estate property and then also do a multi-tenant. They have 2 multi-tenant facilities that they manage. And the office manager got, what looked like an invoice request to pay. And it was a spearfishing attack. And they got, I don't know the exact amount of money that was lost, but it caused a pretty, it was not insignificant. So the solution there with them, obviously, we got them moved there. They were on a hosted exchange service, but just recently migrated them over to 365 with Mimecast, which also does some anti-spearfishing to protect that. So, I mean, that was very recently. That just happened from a specific case there.
Yeah. No, thank you, Dave. There's another question, Dave. I might ask you for some color commentary as well on this one about, what's the response rate when we go to property management companies and we propose a partnership. Now, I'm not going to name drop, but we do have a managing partner group here that's been very successful with focusing on that exact business. So we know it works. We want to see more of it. Dave, I don't know if you can talk to, because I know you've been in some of those presentations and calls, if you can add any color commentary there.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of aspects to that. So there's some few different tracks, but yeah, we've got, a lot of referral partners with some of our, whether you call them sub-agents or whatever they may be, with a lot of our partners that get a lot of leads from commercial real estate agents, right? Whether it's somebody moving into a new property altogether. Another piece is with the multi-tenant aspect of it, right? A lot of times those are incubator startups or temporary office space. So if you have relationships there as well, when people are moving out into their own space from a multi-tenant facility. And I just want to add to some of that, where you mentioned about multi-tenant, how they can be a great partner, but also referral basis. A lot of those, any of the technology stuff that we do or provide a lot of times for them are also revenue generators, revenue centers, whether it's phone services, video conferencing rooms, IT services, all those different pieces that they can monetize that they're doing. So if you bring them good solutions, right, and not, it gives them, they're buying it, but at the end of the day, they're making money on it, right, selling it back to their clients within those facilities. And I'm happy to take some side. I don't want to go on too long about that, but if anybody has other questions about it, because I've actually been a tenant in one of those as well, and have sold to them on many occasions. So I can add a good bit if anybody has, some prospects in mind or some ideas they wanted to talk through more on that side. I'm happy to do it.
That's awesome. I'm really hopeful that some folks will take advantage of that knowledge that you got there, Dave, because we really do think there's a tremendous opportunity to be had there. And again, it goes back to addressing them as a business consultant and not a connectivity or a telco, not pigeonholing yourself, and understanding that you have the right to be in that conversation because you can help them drive revenue. To Dave's point, those are revenue generators. So don't let them brush you off. Speak to their business level and show them how you can bring them new revenue. So we got another question about Eagle Dream, Pro River, about these portal tools, et cetera. Do we already have them built out? I don't think they're going to use some different templates that they can customize pretty quickly. But let Dave and I go see if we can grab some actual case studies from those guys in general, where we've done some of that web and app development. I think we'll be able to get that out to the folks pretty quick. Dave, anything to comment on there?
No, Eagle Dream definitely does. I mean, they do a lot of custom web portal, so integrating to the back end, right, whether it's database or what have you. So a lot of that's custom design. I'm sure, like you said, there's certainly templates they're starting from, but each one's done custom when they're doing those web portal build-outs and websites and things of that nature.
Yeah, but to that point, don't shy away just because you hear that word custom, right? The person who you guys will hear from as part of the interview, Ginger Vereen, a very close friend of mine, she runs Ginger & Co. in the Triangle, and she's got, I think, 6 or 7 folks on her staff, sellers on her staff, and then a small bookkeeping staff. And she's spending like $15,000 a month on her website, most of which is custom work that she had to do before a lot of the technologies that are available now. So now she's in this interesting conundrum where it's like, I know I'm paying too much, but I'm afraid to touch it. I'm afraid to move. So that's where we engage those Eagle Dreams and those Pro Rivers, is not to deliver necessarily a standard, but more of, we've heard what you're trying to do. We understand the technologies you have in place. We think a custom application or web developer can help you build what you're looking for. So those are our kind of wild card, our trump card, that'll help us fill the gaps. Another good question on security. Do you think it's more important to lead with fact and figures about security in real estate, or to question them about the security they already have in place right now? I'm going to say a little bit of both. I always like to lead with, look, I understand. So show credibility off the bat. Look, I understand in talking with some of my other real estate clients that in many cases they have different protective measures in place that are mandated by the franchise that they work with. Everything from security solutions to just a blanket security-related insurance policy. What's that like for you? So I've built credibility by just showing that I get what's going on. You're not, by asking this question and just saying, what are your security problems? Everybody else is scared of security. I'm not building any credibility. So I think by starting with the credibility and then just asking what is a very natural lead-on question of, so if that's what everybody else is telling me, are you the same or are you different? And then let's have a conversation from there. If they then continue to have a kind of a hubris about them, that's when I think it's time to start engaging some of those statistics. Like, hey, did you know that a huge percentage of the real estate last year was attacked? I mean, 30+% according to KPMG. And did you know that business email compromise in real estate in particular is one of the top targets of hackers in 2018? Would $350 a month that completely took that concern away, would that be something that you would like to talk more about, or have I already lost your interest? I think you're going to get a lot of, sure, for $350 a month, if it's that big of a deal, I'll talk about it. That's a great question. Okay. Well, folks, we're getting towards the end here, so I'm going to wrap up. Thank you all again so much for your time today. Please don't be a stranger. Dave and I really look forward to hearing about all your successes in real estate, and hopefully we'll be able to take a little bit of credit for it, but we're really looking forward to this drive in business and money in your pocket. Be sure to tune in next month, Wednesday, April 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern. You will get an invite, don't worry. Wednesday, April 11th at 2 p.m., where we will be covering the legal industry. Thank you all from CNSG again, and happy selling. We wish you all the best.